Hello, hello. It has been a while since I have done anything on Photo Booth, so sorry if this is bad quality or looks amateur. You might expect better from a journalist, but I am tired and do not give a single fuck right now. So, anyways, I am home from work now, and I have not done a JBlog for yesterday or today. I have a plan to write for tonight, but it's probably not going to happen. But I will do an initial post right now. So, um, this is me. I'm back on the internet. It's been a while. So what I'm going to talk about today is the Sopranos, which I'm sure many people in the world and people I know as well have seen. I am just now watching it for the first time though, since it's available on. I have HBO Go. I don't really have it, but I steal it, but it's now available on Amazon Prime. So that means that many people have access to that and many other great HBO shows, and I wish I was paid by HBO to give it this full endorsement. But anyway, so I'm going to be talking about The Sopranos. I just now finished the third season, and by just now I mean this morning. But I think it's a pretty interesting case, given the fact that it not only heralded prestige television and this new era of the Breaking Bad, the Wires, and the Mad Men's the world, but it's at once regressive and progressive in terms of its sexual politics, as well as its gender politics. Excuse me, and in particular how it looks at masculinity and how that is resolved. So I think a lot of ink has been spilled about Tony Soprano and how he was the maybe not the original anti-hero, but at least the uh, Paco, and I'm wondering if I totally mispronounced that, but regardless, he is kind of a character who has been a huge influence on a variety of other people. When you look at the Walter Whites and the Dexter, it might be Dexter Morgan. Regardless, anti-heroes are just popping up like flies on television these days. And Tony Soprano's he's a pretty interesting character, so I'm going to avoid spoilers in case anybody their interest is piqued enough to watch it on their own. I will say it's it's utterly fantastic, which isn't a surprise, but I guess I'm just consistently surprised how audacious and bold it is, even coming from a time, coming from the golden people like to say the golden age of television, and especially the golden age of HBO, when I know The Sopranos and Deadwood, as well as a number of other shows, are kind of packed in there, like Oz and things like that. So the thing I guess I want to talk about, since this has been very formless up until this point, is Tony Soprano's character, and I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the structure, which seems pretty unorthodox. Um, so it's a pretty huge show in terms of its universe. In terms of only the people who are in direct orbit of Tony, you have a dozen characters, and certainly there are people who revolve in and out. But all these characters are at any given time pretty repugnant. They do some horrible things in their moral code. is obviously a little bit skewed as they're part of the mafia, but it's a little more complicated than that, as it's based on um, just this constant retribution. And but it's so interesting when you see coming at this from a feminist angle, as I'm going to be that person apparently. Um, it's very interesting to see some of the characters in terms of the women, um, how they are. If something happens to them, if they become a victim or something, the men react in a way that's just the alpha male style, and you think at first that it seems like a altruistic bent, but it's much more about this territorial idea, and it's really interesting to think about, even in terms of the fact of David Chase is the creative of Sopranos, but Matthew Weiner, who created Mad Men, was also, I believe, I don't have the credits in front of me, but he was the executive producer for a while. He wrote a number of episodes, and just to think about the arc of Tony Soprano at this point compared to someone like Don Draper, or compared to the Peggys of the world, uh, they're interesting in the way that they cross and in the way that they also differ. Um, and I know that it may sound like a reductive thing, but basically what I'm trying to say about the show as a whole is especially in light of a lot of shows that are more sensitive to how men and women react towards each other, or at least are actively commenting on it. I mean, I think Mad Men's probably the best example of this. The Sopranos has a number of things that can be seen as regressive, but and kind of uh, dated in terms of the politics. But I think there's a lot of really complicated things. I mean, I could speak to a lot of the mythic qualities of, for instance, Tony Soprano, the dreamlike, not only the dreamlike qualities of some of the scenes, but literally the dreams that have occurred, as well as the show's meta narrative of Tony seeing a therapist, which it's not a spoiler to say that, is that's introduced within, I'd say, the first 15 minutes of the pilot. But what's so unusual about the show as a whole is it doesn't pivot on the big climactic moments you expect, especially what we've been weaned on, with shows um, like Breaking Bad, for instance, or Walking Dead, or even something like Lost, which all of those either work on cliffhangers or on the sense that you need to see what happens next. Speaking vaguely about some plot machinations, for instance, this last season ended with a about 5 minutes. I hesitate to say soliloquy, but it's kind of a panoramic view of the characters reacting to this one song. And I mean, it goes through this bizarre aesthetical choice right at the end, which honestly I'm not sure how I feel about it. But it takes this initial song, which a character is singing, and then does kind of not a triptych, but cycles through all of the covers in these various genres. And it's this weird moment that solidifies the time period and tradition and history of the characters, while also cementing the time they're in. Um, and I think that's what's so interesting about this show, is even if sometimes some of its social politics seem unfortunate. It is ultimately about a show, or excuse me, it is ultimately about characters who um, are apart from time. Um, they're living through, this tradition of the mafioso tradition, of being a gangster, feeling like they're owed something, and there's something very powerful about the fact that a lot of these characters have chips on their shoulder. I mean, Tony Soprano especially, um, in terms of the fact that they believe that they're owed what they have, and there's a lot of strange conversations, not necessarily strange, but insightful conversations about what makes a man, uh, what makes a family work, and I guess even uh, more abstractly, what how does our identity define us? Whether that's simply based on our parents or our jobs, which especially being in the waste management, as it's referred to repeatedly, how that defines Tony. And I think while some of those questions um, have shifted in the cultural consciousness, uh, there's a lot of interesting things to be said here about masculinity and where we are in not necessarily, but I hate to say, a post 9/11 world because it's become a strange cliche at this point. But how paranoia and um, how technology uh, kind of pervade our lifestyles. That's not to say it's a tech show, but rather a show of characters who are anachronisms. So I've kind of wandered off the point, but I guess what I'm ultimately trying to say is it's a fantastic show at this point. I hope to write down some thoughts about it because I definitely have some more concrete thoughts more than these just kind of vague scribbles. But I wanted to get a blog, well, a vlog post. Oh man, a vlog post up because I missed yesterday. So we're now going on 13 minutes. So this is for July 1st. And this has been me talking about The Sopranos. It's on Amazon Prime. You don't have an excuse anymore not to watch it. It's a fantastic show. Um, and I think it has a lot of interesting things to say about not only where we are in television, but also what kind of world we've previously been in back at the beginning of the decade and how that's changed now. So I'm signing off. Thanks for listening to probably the 5 people who will listen to this, and um, it's probably high. But I'm gonna leave this unedited, so I hope you like it. Bye.